They said it was a war to preserve the Union, but what really unfolded on those blood-soaked fields would haunt America for generations. No schoolbook, no history lecture could prepare anyone for the secrets buried beneath the smoke and the screams. This is the untold story of courage, betrayal, and survival. The Civil War as you never heard it before. The year was 1861. Tensions had reached a breaking point. The United States, young and fragile, teetered on the edge of collapse. Slavery, a deeply ingrained institution in the southern states, had long been a source of contention. But it wasn't just about freedom or politics. It was about identity, power, and the very soul of a nation. The South, proud and defiant, believed its way of life was under threat, while the North, increasingly industrialized and unified, demanded change at any cost. Fort Sumter fell in April, a shot fired that echoed across the continent. Soldiers were called, volunteers answered, and ordinary men were thrust into a war they scarcely understood. The reality of battle would shatter illusions of honor and glory. They marched under flags, singing patriotic songs, hearts filled with naive courage. But the first encounter with war's brutal reality was nothing like the prideful parades they had imagined. The fields of Bull Run became a baptism of fire. Men fell by the dozens, screaming in pain, dust and blood mingling with the cries of the wounded. The air itself seemed poisoned with smoke and despair. Stories of heroism mingled with horror. Brothers divided by ideology, neighbors turned enemies, and commanders making decisions that would haunt them forever. In the shadows of these battles are untold personal stories, far from the public eye. Private letters, hastily written in the middle of gunfire, revealed a deeper truth. The fear, the moral conflict, and the desperate attempts to survive in a world collapsing around them. Soldiers hid their trembling hands behind rifles, writing home about families they might never see again, moments stolen between volleys of musket fire. Meanwhile, spies moved like ghosts in the night, gathering information that would tip the scales of battle. The war was fought not just in open fields, but in shadows, in whispers, and in the intricate networks of civilians risking everything to protect, to betray, or to survive. These stories, mostly lost to time, reveal that the Civil War was not only a conflict of armies, but a war of secrets, cunning, and unimaginable human resilience. The Battle of Antietam arrived, bringing with it an unprecedented carnage. Over 22,000 casualties in a single day, a scale of death unimaginable for the young nation. Amidst the chaos, ordinary men faced choices that would define their lives and haunt their consciences. Some found courage they never knew existed, leading desperate charges against impossible odds. Others were paralyzed by fear, hiding in the mud, praying for the bullets to miss. Life in the camps was another kind of hell. Disease spread faster than bullets, starvation gnawed at soldiers' bellies, and boredom interlaced with terror. Diaries describe men burning letters to hide their despair, while others formed bonds of friendship that would last beyond the battlefield, sealed in blood and shared suffering. Every day was a struggle not just against the enemy, but against the relentless tide of exhaustion, fear, and doubt. And in the midst of all this, civilians bore the brunt in unimaginable ways. Women running households alone, children learning to survive in a world of constant uncertainty, and enslaved people seizing fleeting moments to glimpse freedom or escape the brutality around them. Their stories are etched in hidden corners, forgotten in traditional histories, yet essential to understanding the human cost of this conflict. The second year brought a shift. Leadership changed, strategies evolved, and the war's psychological toll deepened. Soldiers who had survived one campaign were hardened, yet also haunted by memories they could not escape. Commander decisions that once seemed tactical became moral puzzles, choices between thousands of lives that history would judge in decades to come. The untold stories of scouts slipping behind enemy lines, of families sheltering soldiers in secret rooms, of men making impossible decisions in the heat of battle, paint a picture of a war far more complex than any textbook can convey. Every skirmish, every march, and every night spent shivering in the mud contributed to the tapestry of a nation's most brutal internal conflict. The war was far from over. As 1863 approached, the intensity escalated. Gettysburg loomed, promising destruction and heroism on an unprecedented scale. The lives of countless men would hang in the balance, decisions made in split seconds determining life or death. The untold human stories continued, acts of valor, cowardice, compassion, and cruelty, hidden in the fog of history, waiting to be uncovered by those willing to look beyond the statistics. And so, the first part of this untold story concludes not with a resolution, but with a promise. The Civil War was more than battles, more than politics. It was the test of human endurance, the exposure of the darkest and brightest aspects of the human spirit, and a narrative still resonating in the shadows of America's memory. As the summer of 1863 approached, the war's ferocity escalated to unprecedented levels. Gettysburg emerged not merely as a battlefield, but as a crucible where fate, courage, and desperation intertwined. Men marched into hell under blazing sun, their faces streaked with sweat, dirt, and fear. The air smelled of gunpowder, blood, and decaying bodies, a scent that would haunt survivors for a lifetime. The first day at Gettysburg was chaos incarnate. Units collided like waves, crashing into each other, commanders shouting orders that were often drowned out by the deafening roar of artillery. Soldiers' lives depended on split-second decisions, when to advance, when to retreat, when to risk everything for the faint hope of victory. Ordinary men became heroes or victims almost by accident, their fates dictated by circumstances beyond their control. Among them was Private Samuel Hawthorne, a farm boy from Pennsylvania. He had joined the Union Army out of a sense of duty and naive patriotism, dreaming of glory, yet within hours, glory was eclipsed by terror. Samuel watched friends he had trained alongside for months fall around him, lifeless in the dirt. The screams of the wounded and dying became a relentless symphony of horror. His own fear was paralyzing, but instinct and training drove him forward. Samuel's story, like countless others, was untold, lost in the shadow of statistics, yet emblematic of the human struggle amidst the brutality of war. Meanwhile, in the Confederate ranks, Lieutenant James Whittemore faced a moral dilemma that would define his legacy. Ordered to charge a heavily fortified position, he saw the impossibility of success. Men would die by the dozens if he obeyed blindly, yet refusal meant dishonor and potential execution. Whittemore's mind wrestled with loyalty, duty, and conscience, embodying the tragic complexity of a war fought not just with bullets, but with ethical agony. The night after the battle, the fields were littered with the dead and dying. Fires burned in scattered homesteads, illuminating the terror of those left behind. Soldiers scoured the remnants for water, food, or the faint comfort of a blanket. Amidst this chaos,
acts of humanity emerged. Union soldiers giving water to wounded Confederates, medics risking their lives to pull men from the mud, and civilians hiding fugitives in attics, defying both armies. These hidden moments of courage, compassion, and desperation shaped the war's moral landscape, yet history often ignores them. As the war dragged on into 1864, the Union sought to capitalize on the fractured Confederate forces. General Ulysses S. Grant's strategy of relentless engagement brought unprecedented suffering. Siege after siege, campaign after campaign, men were worn down physically, mentally, and spiritually. Life in the trenches and camps became a battle of endurance as much as combat. Disease, starvation, and exposure claimed more lives than bullets, turning the soldiers into shadows of themselves, struggling to survive. Behind the lines, espionage and sabotage became increasingly critical. Women and men risked everything, sending intelligence through secret networks, infiltrating enemy camps, and sabotaging supply lines. Harriet Tubman, already renowned for her courage, became a figure in military intelligence, guiding raids and gathering critical information. These stories, often untold in mainstream history, reveal the simultaneous nature of the conflict, where courage manifested in both battlefield heroics and covert operations. The surrender at Vicksburg in July 1863 marked a turning point. The Mississippi River fell under Union control, splitting the Confederacy and cutting off crucial supplies. Yet even this victory carried a human cost. Thousands of civilians and soldiers endured starvation, disease, and the psychological torment of hopelessness. Letters written from these times revealed despair, but also moments of resilience, as communities and individuals adapted to unimaginable circumstances. Sherman's march to the sea in 1864 introduced a new dimension of warfare: total war. Cities and farms were burned, supplies destroyed, and civilians caught in the crossfire. The strategy aimed not only to defeat armies, but to crush morale and resources. Amidst this devastation, the human spirit persisted. Stories emerged of families hiding neighbors in basements, of soldiers sparing civilians when they could, and of children learning to survive amidst ruin. These tales, rarely documented in conventional history books, reveal the layered complexity of war beyond battlefield maneuvers. By 1865, the war had transformed the nation. The cost was staggering: hundreds of thousands dead, countless wounded, and a country divided both geographically and emotionally. Yet even in the aftermath, untold stories persisted. Soldiers returned home haunted by what they had seen and done, their experiences shaping communities and families for generations. African Americans, long enslaved, began to navigate a complex landscape of freedom and continued oppression. Civilians rebuilt, carrying with them the trauma and resilience forged in the crucible of war. The final days saw the surrender at Appomattox, yet the human stories continued. Some former soldiers struggled to reconcile their actions with morality. Others found new purpose in reconstruction and reconciliation. Letters, diaries, and oral histories provide glimpses of survival and adaptation, reflecting the enduring spirit of those who witnessed history firsthand. The American Civil War was more than battles and strategies. It was a crucible of human endurance, morality, and survival. Its untold stories, hidden in letters, diaries, and forgotten archives, reveal the depth of courage, the agony of loss, and the complexity of human nature. These are not merely tales of war. They are the narrative of a nation tested to its limits, and the people who endured, survived, and shaped its future. And so, the war's brutal reality comes into focus, not as numbers or dates, but as living, breathing human experiences. The young farm boy facing death, the officer torn between duty and conscience, the spy risking everything in darkness, and the civilian trying to protect loved ones amidst chaos. This untold story is the true measure of the most brutal war America has ever faced, an epic of survival, sacrifice, and the unyielding spirit of humanity.